So, well, good morning, and I think Angela, you're going to start this.
I think I'm going to start.
Oh,
This is, I'm excited about this topic, and you should be too because you're salespeople. Everyone who's watching, even if you're not in sales, this stuff matters. And today we're going to be talking about first impressions, right? I don't know if you know this, but studies show that in the first 7 seconds, people have decided a whole bunch of things about you. In the first 7 seconds they ever meet you. Are you approachable or are you not approachable? Do we like you or we don't like you? Are you a friend or are you an enemy? Are you trustworthy? Are you an energetic person? Like, they make all of these decisions probably before anything comes out of your mouth. We know this. Inherently, we do the same thing. First impressions are like, we remember 85 or 90% of what we see and only 15% of what we hear. So we should care about that, because we need to appeal to people, which means you need to be aware of the type of impressions that you give off, where you're at today, and what can you do to improve your first impression and appeal more widely to people. So we're going to be talking about that today. I want you to imagine that you're walking down the street and a woman's coming toward you. She's super professionally dressed. She's got a pleasant look on her face. She's looking straight ahead. She's walking quickly. She's walking straight, and she walks past you. She's got an expensive suit on.
Instead of walking crooked like she's drunk, I just wanted to make sure.
And we all would make certain assumptions, right? Like, what are some of the things you might think of that woman as she's walking down the street? She's looking happy. She's dressed really well. You might think she's professional or successful or maybe just really an attractive person, regardless of really how she looks, just because she's put together well. And you probably make a lot of good assumptions, as opposed to somebody walking down the street dragging their feet in baggy sweatpants and a tattered shirt, kind of looking down at the ground. I mean, we immediately make judgments that those two women lead very different lives. And they never said a word, right? So I think that you guys will all agree that it matters about certain things. We want to talk about some of those things today. How about words? When the words start coming out, I can say, hey, how was your day? Which is very different than when Bentley, my 7-year-old, comes home and I go, how was your day? It's very different. Same words, or how was your day? Like, you know, all these things that we have to start to pay attention to if you want to make a really good first impression. So today we're going to actually talk about 7 things that you can affect that will help to give really great first impressions. And before we start to talk about those, I want you to remember this. People make decisions only based on what you say 7% of their decision making. 38% is how you say it, and the rest is what they see. Isn't that crazy? So you can say beautiful, eloquent things, but that's only 70% of the impression they're going to get from you. The rest of it is either intonation and voice and just everything else that they see. They respond to facial expressions and gestures, your stance, the kind of energy that you give off, and even the tone and pitch of your voice. So we'll go over 7 things today so that in the first 7 seconds or thereafter, you will have better impressions from your clients or anybody that you're working with.
Yeah, it's kind of amazing if and a lot of you might know these 7 things, but I have to tell you, I didn't understand these things till later on in my life, because I was never brought up in a professional setting. So to me, these things were, I give you for example. So before I met Angela and I first started in the business, I used to have long hair. That's what I have, long hair, and I don't wear suits, I don't wear ties. And I used to walk around in cut-off shirts, and that's how I ran my business. But I was broke. And people used to come up to me and say, you need to get a haircut. I'm like, no, I don't. And I'm like, they have to accept me for who I am. Well, the sad part is although the way you dress and the way you look ultimately doesn't reflect who you are, that what Angela was just saying, look, if you're going to be a professional and you want to do business, they will judge you on the first 7 seconds. It's a fact. It's the world we live in. It kind of, sometimes it can work in the opposite way. I remember when we started to become successful and making some money, we were at car dealership, and I went in there dressed like a bum, like I normally do. It's just who I am. And they wouldn't give me the time of day.
It's true.
And I think we were looking at Hummers at the time, and basically judging like this guy can't afford that. And that dealership lost the sale. We wound up buying from another dealership. But so my point is these 7 things, although may be basic, maybe you never heard of them before. Maybe you might say today, oh wow, I got to work on that one. Or saying, yeah, I do those, but I don't do others. So these are the 7 things. The first one is adjust your attitude. Adjust your attitude. Because your attitude shows through, whether you think you're hiding it or not. I'm probably the worst at it. If I'm not in a good mood and I think I'm masking it, no. She says, she goes, really, do you really think you're hiding that?
You can feel it.
Your mood, your attitude is going to affect everything you do. It's going to affect your stance, your posture, your tone of voice, your expressions. So look, we all deal with stuff, but let's be cognizant of our attitude because people feed off of it. They feed off of it. That's why I always say it's very important who you surround yourself with. When we say we're building a company full of professionals, when you're in here and you're around that, and most of the people have great attitudes and professional attitudes, what are you going to do? You mimic it. That's why it's important. If you're around grumpy people all the time or negative people, what do you feed off of? You just feed right into it. You're like, oh yeah, the world does suck. Oh, everything stinks. Economy stinks, this, that. And you start to feed into it because that's what you're around. So your attitude is very important, guys. I also want to point out, let's say you're sitting here today or out there on Facebook land or whatever land that is out there, and you're actually working. So these are people who are working but struggling in your business. Now people who aren't working and struggling, people that are going, you know what, Chuck, I'm out there, I'm prospecting, I'm doing open houses, I'm even working with some clients, but I'm seeing no results. You know what that could be a direct reflection of? Your attitude. And you might not know it. So for example, when you're sitting in open house, and let's just say you're there for 2-3 hours and nobody's come in yet. You think your attitude right now is good? So that person who walks in after that, you're probably at that point going, I don't know why I do this. Is this the right career for me? And then the next person walks in, even though you might mask it a little bit, your attitude is very reflective on the way you're engaging that person. Or even on phone calls. Your attitude definitely comes through phone calls. So you have to be very cognizant of the way you are and your attitude towards people. So it is very important, guys, that we're not what I call mood polluters. Because you know those people in your life that you're like, I can't be around them. They are just so negative. I mean, you walk near them and you can feel that energy. I know ever since I've started to grow professionally and have a positive attitude and I want to surround myself with like-minded people, I can't physically be around negative people. Like, not saying, well, I'm better than them. It's I just can't be around them. It's the energy they're giving off. And here's another thing, too, that maybe you're at this stage where financially you're in trouble and you are stressed for that next deal. So that person that you're working with, you like leech on to them because you got to make that sale. People sense that, guys. So it is difficult to try to play that balancing act, but I want you to be aware your attitude is very important in that first 7 seconds.
The second thing is your posture. I think everyone kind of knows that. Have you ever seen people who they just look sad? Right? They just look sad. And if you haven't practiced posture, there's all kinds of things you can do. I mean, there's like literally you can do core exercises, you can do different arm exercises if you just know that you're a person that doesn't have good posture, but it makes a big difference. When you're standing, when you're sitting, I mean, there's a big difference between somebody who stands and talks with you. This says confidence, you know, it changes the whole thing immediately when you just change your posture a little bit, or people who stand like this, you know. It's crazy, but the way that you sit, I'll tell you a story. There's one of our agents was sitting in the front lobby and was sitting down and had feet up on chairs or something. And I didn't say a word, but do you know how many comments I got about what a bad attitude that agent has? He didn't say anything, but just the way he was sitting, how rude, how disrespectful, what a bad attitude. Really? That's crazy. But it's how you, when you engage with your clients, how you stand or how you sit makes a huge difference. If you're a person who tends to cross your arms a lot, be careful about that, because that's very unapproachable if you cross your arms a lot. Or when you sit down, you're always, you know, you're all crossed up, right? Trying to hide yourself.
It's not a Gumby or something.
I'm very bendy, but so you have to be aware. And if you're not aware, or somebody hasn't, just talk to the people who, how's my posture? You know, what does my body language say to you right now, the way I'm standing or the way that I'm sitting? And you'll find out that everyone has a little something they could work on.
The next one is making the right amount of eye contact.
This is huge.
This is a big deal, guys, because eye contact is very important, because it's interpreted as that you're very interested, that you're paying attention, and it's also a sign of self-confidence. Because you ever come across people that just can't make eye contact with you? What's the first thing that comes to your mind? You feel like they have no confidence in themselves.
Or you can't trust them.
Well, you want to do mine?
No, I'm telling you how I feel.
She's not very confident either right now.
Or they don't trust you. Which is I want to tell you a quick story that I really believe there's a lot of people, especially in sales, that don't really understand this. See, when we talk about business and being professional, there's a lot of nuances that you can learn and teach yourself to become a professional salesperson. It's not just going out there and selling a product. All of these things are very important. And I really believe there's a lot of people who have never taught this. I'm going to tell you an example. So when we were out looking for a new space, so before we locked into this location, we were looking at some other spaces. And we almost went under contract with another location. And you know the reason why we didn't? Is the salesperson we were dealing with, so the commercial agent, every time I spoke to him, he would look away.
Shut his eyes.
Well, he would look away, he would look down. And to me, all that said to me is, I don't trust this guy. I don't trust him. And he did it every time. And you know, that was one of the reasons why I said, you know what? I want out. Now, obviously, that God controlling everything, God had a plan, and he's got to move you in a certain way. But I don't think till this day, this agent understood why he lost that deal. And maybe he was trustworthy. Maybe he wasn't. But his actions lost him a big deal. And that property's still vacant. It's 2 years later. So is that a big deal? Could you imagine the person who hired him? You see, little things like that are a big deal. So it was funny because then I was talking to another commercial agent. It was a few weeks later, so this deal was a bust. And we were thinking about another deal, and we were sitting at the conference table. And I knew this commercial agent. I told him the story about how this guy couldn't look me in the eye. And it was about a half an hour meeting. The guy was like staring at me, not even blinking.
Well,
The next day, his partner said that when he left, he goes, "My eyes are killing me, and there's no drop. I did not want to take my eyes off of him. I wanted him to trust me." So, which leads to some other things. What is the right eye contact? How do you do this to be respectful, to show that you're interested, but not over exaggerating? So it does involve a fixed glaze, but only for 4 to 5 seconds at a time.
Not a glaze,
Don't-
but a gaze. It's glaze.
It's a glaze.
It's a glaze.
No, it's like the thing you put on top of it, right? Glaze. See, I know what I'm talking about. You know what's funny? This is my life. Ever since I met her, she goes, now I'm not a book nerd, so I'm not like a school guy, you know, I hated school. So she goes, you're the only guy I know that uses words close to the right word, but it's the wrong word, and everybody gets it. And nobody says anything to you, except for her. She always points it out. So, they knew what I meant.
Yes.
Anyway, so we want to at least focus on them, but you're not looking to stare them down. You want to blink normally. You know, don't keep an open eyes like this, or don't start to get nervous and start to blink around. Here's some other stuff. Every now and then, move your head. Don't just have it fixed. Move your head, nod. It shows that you're intently listening to somebody. Here's some other things that I will tell you I've watched as deal breakers, especially with me in the way I am. If you're a male and you're dealing with a couple, most of your engagement is with the male, not the female. And it's a respect thing for the male. Now, I'm not saying, you know, and I'll probably have some of these women out there, what do you mean, is he more, but no, it's a respect thing. So I'm not saying you don't look at the woman, but most of your conversation is with the man. You're going to make eye contact with, and every now you gaze over to the woman. Gaze over to the woman, and you make eye contact with her. But most of your conversation and your eye contact is with him. If you're a female, it's the opposite. Most of your eye contact is with the female. Every now and then you gaze over to the male. Now, I will tell you this. If it's clients or people that you know, so now you're building a relationship, and you know there's a dominant one that makes more of the decisions, and you understand where you stand in that relationship, then that's when you can change it. We're talking about people you don't know. So does that make sense, guys? Because I'm going to tell you, when I dealt with, it was an insurance guy, it was a while ago.
Just in that room right there.
This guy never took his eyes off of her.
So creepy.
And I'm like, dude, you just blew the whole deal. Like, not for anything else, but it's just, if that's the way you do business, it's not the person I want to do business with. So eye contact is very important. Who you're dealing with, and when, in what situation that you're doing, that's what you want to be. Now, there is one other thing. Be sensitive to people that if they're not making eye contact with you, don't try to force it. There are certain people that it's difficult for them to make eye contact with you. And we understand that. It's just the way they are. Now, you as an agent, though, if you feel uncomfortable about making eye contact, well, if you want to be successful at this business, you got to change. And it might be difficult. It's difficult for some people to do that, but it is very important. I'm telling you that.
Right, you guys don't get to opt out of any of these. If you want to be successful, you have to put all of these things into the way that you interact with people. The next one is smile. Like, I love this. If you guys are enjoying something or inform your face, right? Like, tell your face. I always talk about this when I'm teaching. Some of you, your resting faces are not attractive. You can't help it.
Well, listen, don't you get like injections where they can't move their face? Some of them? I don't know. I'm just putting it out there.
So you have to be aware if you have a really bad resting face. And you can't help it, but you can change it. You can be aware of it, and you can hold your face differently because we can control our face. And it really matters because some people, everybody responds better to a smile than a pout face or a puss on your face or an angry face. And smiling actually does something to your brain. It's like every time you smile, you throw a feel-good party in your brain. It's the truth. You let out all kinds of endorphins out and things. It helps with your attitude. It helps with your posture. So smiling should be like a habit. I'm just saying. And some of you need to practice, right? Some of you
I
need to
just threw a
practice.
feel-good party.
And by the way, did you see that? There is a right way and a wrong way to smile. That was creepy. That does not do the right thing to your brain. So, you know, if you walk into a room and you've got like creepy smile face, you know, especially when you're...
So then there's no real party going on. It was like you never got the invite.
I don't
Is
know
that
what it
it
was.
is?
I don't know.
All right.
But yeah, actually when I was reading up on it, it's so funny because there's actually instructions on the right kind of smiling when you try to make a first impression. You don't go at somebody like full smile. You kind of have like a start of a smile and it gets wider as you talk. Not like that. But there's that's I smile easily. My husband smiles easily now, not in the past. But now he does. If you're not a
I'm
person,
happy now. I'm married to you.
Oh, that's not the only reason, but that was sweet. I go shooting across the room. I'll be back. So yeah, you guys just need to know if you're a person who needs to practice smiling more. And that's about it. Oh no, I'll tell you one thing. There's a cool
I
study
shouldn't
that I
have
read.
opened my mouth. You were done.
There's a cool study that I read that they presented these subjects with all of these happy faces, really happy, laughing, smiling faces, and then they told them to frown while they were looking at it. And it was like really, they had to like make a conscious effort to frown. So they, all the studies were conclusive that smiling is actually contagious, right? It's contagious. So for you to have a great, happy attitude, you can affect those around you to have that same happy attitude, and they'll just like you better. So, smile.
The next one, make sure the space you have between you and the person you're talking to is appropriate.
You people need to listen to this one.
Oh my gosh. Have you ever been uncomfortable with the way somebody stands or their like faces right in your face? I mean, space invaders. That's what they are. They're space invaders. Guys, there's nothing worse than somebody that's in your personal space. You talk about feeling uncomfortable. That's what you're doing to people. Yet I know there are some people that have no problem with that type of distance, but most people don't, especially if you don't know them. You want to send off a bad vibe right away, get uncomfortably close to somebody, and you're going to see how it affects if they like you or not. It's not going to go well. So we have to figure out what is that space, what is that physical distance we want to keep between people. Now, although there's some factors, so the factors are, do you know the person, are you friends with them? But we're mainly talking about people you just met. So normally you want to keep a 3 to 4 foot range between you and that person. And there is a difference if it's male to male, male to female, female to female. Some females don't mind getting a little closer in that space. Male to male, 10 feet's good for me. Just if I don't know you, just 10 feet is good. Until I figure out friend or foe. So I guess it's the way I was brought up. So here are some other basic rules that you want to know about when you first meet somebody in personal space. Never touch anyone you don't know. You know, there are some people that'll go like this, hey, how you doing? Don't do that. Don't touch anyone's children.
I do that. I do that.
I know, you can't do that. Not the people
Yes.
you don't know.
Ladies don't care.
Yeah, I don't know. Don't do it to people you don't know. See, now you learned something today. Don't reach for anyone's children, regardless of your intention. You know, and I know it's a habit sometimes that, you know, maybe somebody comes up with open house and they have kids, and I know I'm faulty of it. When you go, oh, hey, give me a high five, and you want to play around with the kid. Here's what they're saying: don't do that till you get to know them a little. That might creep somebody out. So that's something I just recently learned, because I think, oh, I'm going to play around with them. But they're saying if you don't know the person, don't do that with the kids, regardless of your intention. And then here's another one. If they lean away from you, so maybe you're 3 feet away and they lean away, don't track them. Like there's people that, you know what I'm saying, track them. They'll keep the same distance as they're trying to walk away. So don't get into that habit of doing that. So personal space is really a big deal when you first meet someone.
I'm really vocal about it. I'm like, you need to back off. Seriously, because some people just don't get it. Like, I'll back off and they'll come forward. I'm like, you're way too close to me. You need to back up. The next one
She
is.
says it to me all the time.
No. And I'm like, come on.
I'm like, all right, I get the hint.
No, I never say that to him. I'm like a magnet to him.
Yes, all right.
All right.
Next one.
So I'm going to tell you a story about the next one. This was years ago. We had an agent at our company. Really super nice guy, great agent. But there was just something about him. And I was like, I don't know, I think you told me or you figured it out, but you know, you just kind of looked at him and I don't know what it was until I think you pointed it out to me. He had no eyebrows.
Dying to know. Oh.
He had no eyebrows. And I couldn't put my finger on it, but like something just wasn't right. It was the lack of eyebrows. Have you guys ever Googled pictures of people with no eyebrows? It's always creepy.
Every day. It's what I do in my
I
spare time.
did it this morning. I did it this morning. It's always creepy.
Here's one for you, Mike. Photoshop somebody without eyebrows.
Do not Photoshop me doing that, or I will sever you. I will sever you. So it's seriously, everyone looks creepy without eyebrows, but that's not my point. Keep your eyebrows. That's one of them. Don't do it. So bad. You can do it to Chuck. But the way you hold your eyebrows is a big deal. It's a big deal. And I think that we probably know that, but some people, like I have these perma lines here because I furrow my eyebrows sometimes when I'm thinking or when I'm concentrating. You have to be careful that you're not doing that to somebody, right? If you do something with your eyebrows and furrow them, and when you look in the mirror, you're like, ooh, I look angry, or I look unpleasant in any way. If that's a habit of yours, you have to figure out a way to break that habit or be aware of it.